Now it's time for us to delve into our first top story of the day. We'll talk in refineries, Nigerian refineries. The refineries, yes, those elusive state-owned refineries remain non-operational despite multiple promises and budget allocations. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company, NNPC, confirmed this yet again. Last Thursday, the president of the Dangote Group, Alhaji Aliko Dangote, stated that the Port Harcourt, Warri and Kaduna refineries might never resume operations despite the $18 billion turnaround spent on turnaround maintenance. Just a day after, the group chief executive officer of the NNPCL, Bayo Ojulari, echoed similar concerns in an interview with Bloomberg, stating that a strategic review of NNPCL's refinery operations was underway and that the sale is not out of the question.
And public reaction has been swift, fiery, and layered with frustration. Billions of naira sunk into turnaround maintenance over the years. Opposition leaders have tackled the Tinubu administration, demanding a thorough criminal investigation into the alleged corruption linked to the failed turnaround maintenance of the refineries. The big question remains, what happened to the revitalization plans? What's stopping these refineries from working? And should we proceed with an outright sale?
Now, join us for this morning's discussion is investment banker and public affairs analyst, Dr. Nnaemeka Obiaraeri. One welcome to you, and thanks for joining us on Breakfast Central. Now, first of all, I would like you to start with giving an assessment of the petroleum sector under the administration of former President Muhammadu Buhari. He also doubled as petroleum minister. How would you like to remember his impact on the petroleum industry?
Who is very fair-minded, very honest, that will not tell you of a truth that the oil and gas industry in Nigeria and the economy in general actually tanked 50 years back under the leadership of Muhammadu Buhari and the successive leaders at the NNPC. The only time we had a glimmer of light was between 2015 to January 2016. And if you look at those periods, you will see clearly that was the period when Kachukwu was the GMD of the NNPC. The first thing Kachukwu did when he became the GMD was to do an audit of a forensic audit of our actual petroleum consumption, especially white petroleum products. You know, there was a time in this country when we were told we are consuming 55 million liters per day under the era of Desiani, and Nigerians cried foul. And of course, there was an investigation that was led by the National Assembly that revealed that our actual consumption was between 28 to 32 million liters a day. And of course, Kachukwu confirmed it. And what was the level until the bazaar started in 2016 under Mike Antibaru and Muhammadu Buhari? Firstly, our output was at a level of about 2.3 million barrels, crude and condensate, when Buhari took over on May 29, 2015. There was even a time in 2008, if you look at CBA record, 2010, if you look at CBA record of August to October 2010, there was even a time we did 2.8 million barrels, both crude and condensate a day. So Nigeria had never had it rough the way we had it under the last 8 years. Our output came down from a height of about 2.3 million barrels to even a time we were even getting below 1 million barrels a day. And the worst of it was under Nnaemeka, when he even gleefully told us at GMD of NNPC that we were losing 1.9 million barrels of our, $1.9 billion worth of our crude every month to duty-free and inefficiencies. It was such atrocious level that every one of us were shocked when Tinubu retained him as GMD for over 2 years. And that was actually what delayed most of the much touted programs and policies of government in terms of removal of subsidy and the margin of the multiple foreign exchange rates in the forex market. So It was an era of larceny, an era of corruption, an era of unhinged, unabated corruption and the looting. And the worst of it all was that we allegedly over $3 billion was borrowed by way of crude swap to fix those refineries. We won. For the last 18 years, we have been very, very consistent that those refineries can never be fixed under the kind of public sector corruption that we've experienced in Nigeria in the oil and gas industry. Obasanjo was a very wise man, so much that in 2007 he decided to privatize 60% of those refineries to the Blue Star Consortium led by Aliko, Dangote, Ojulari, and some of the corporate czars. If that exercise had been allowed by Yar'Adua to thrive, we wouldn't be where we are today. $1 billion wasted under Buhari for turnaround maintenance program of those refineries. And it is being revealed recently now that most of those monies were African. But one of the worrisome things is that within all this revelation, why the likes of Nnaemeka Obiaraeri and all of them at NNPC are not being harassed, arrested, and prosecuted the way the federal government is doing to Godwin Emefiele, who did not even commit 10% of the crime and last year that happened at NNPC, is something that is very, very worrying. I can tell you, the root of the current Nigerian woes, the root of the problems we have today was what happened between 2015 and 2023. Okay. Cumulatively, over $630 billion estimated dollar inflows came into Nigeria by way of crude oil sales, exports, foreign direct remittance, diaspora remittances, and borrowings. What left Nigeria was about $462 billion. Net, we should have had at least net current balances in our reserve of about $180 billion. Those monies got frittered away. Until today, nothing has been done. Those who wreck this economy are walking free, while the current federal government is telling Nigerians to just hold on and tighten their belts.
Okay, I want to pick up on something. You've listed about the amount of money that has come in through the sales of crude oil over the years, but I'm quite curious as to this sort of turnaround that we're hearing at this point in time. It started last week when we heard from Aliko Dangote that it's likely that the refineries will never be operational. Then we're hearing from NNPC as well that, oh, it's possible that is also the case. But I'm very curious as to what specific operational or structural failures have led NNPC to confirm that the refineries are not working. And where were these issues earlier? Let's not forget that we were told that there was a timeline of December 2024, when I believe it was the Port Harcourt refinery that was meant to kick off. Then that timeline was extended until there was just complete silence. So we've been given timelines before for the rehabilitation and turnaround of these refineries, but now there's an admission of failure, an admission of the possibility that they will never work. Where is this change coming from? This change in what is being said and what is being told to the Nigerian populace?
The truth is, under the current ownership of the NNPC and those refineries will not work. Those refineries will not work, not because it is not repairable or it's not because it cannot be revamped. It cannot work because of the established culture of profanity, larceny, corruption, and abomination that currently goes on, not just in the oil and gas industry, the petroleum ministry, the NNPC, but at some of the commanding heights of our public sector. And it will shock you to know that the refineries are not even as old, are not even among the top 20, top 30 oldest refineries in the world. There are refineries all over the world. Some are even more than 100 years old, some more than 50 years old, that are still working and operating efficiently in other parts of the world, even in countries that do not have crude oil resources. NNPC is not working. The refineries are not working because we have refused to do the right thing. What are the right things that we're supposed to do? If you look backward, you will see the same way petrochemical plant element was not working until it was handed over to Indorama. Today, they've gone even above working to establish other trends. The same way, the Nigerian liquefied natural gas is working because it is 51% owned by the private sector and 49% owned by the federal government of Nigeria through the NNPC. And today is no longer producing up to 100% capacity because NNPC has failed to supply it the natural resources gas that it requires. We know what to do, and what are those things that we need to do? we need to first of all unbundle the NNPC. And to unbundle the NNPC, we need to look at what the Brazilians did. They are not less corrupt than Nigerians. But they discovered that if you put in place the institutional framework, the transparency framework, the place will work. Sell down 70% of the federal government shareholding in the NNPC. 30% to three core investors, local players in the national oil and gas sector, 10%, preferably demand members. Then 40% should be sold to Nigerians in the pay, and then the whole thing listed on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, and maybe dual listed on the London Stock Exchange, and then do an IPO of $20 billion. When you do this and turn the NNPC to become efficient as Petrobras, to become efficient at Nigeria liquefied natural gas, every other thing associated with NNPC and the refineries will work. Those refineries are better placed to be revamped. Kaduna is off spec and off site. We can turn it into a storage depot because all the pipeline has been compromised. So they know what to do. We've asked them to do this right thing, and they've refused to. Anybody in NNPC or the federal government telling you they want to revamp it, it will never work. Aliko was right in that regard. Aliko was wrong in thinking that it will never work again. He should have even gone ahead to provide solutions on what we need to do. And it should not be sold to him or any other person who currently owns a refinery. I have said it here. We can sell these refineries to technical investors in Nigeria with technical and deep pockets. And we have many of them. And I don't want to promote anybody here. 10%, 40%. See, if they do it this way, some of us Nigerians and those in diaspora will subscribe. And if we do this, we will unlock nothing less than $40 billion into the federation account. And we will unbundle that sector to run efficiently in such a way that we will become more efficient than Petrobras. Look at Brazil. 15.7 billion barrels of crude reserve. Nigeria has 37 billion barrels, proven reserve, which can even be ramped up to $50 billion, 50 billion barrels. Petrobras is doing $171 billion turnover, 171 billion asset size, $121 billion turnover every year, $36 billion profits every year, 2.3 million barrels of crude production every day. Petrobras pays over $47 billion as royalties and pays $6 billion as dividends to the Brazilian government for just owning 28% of the shareholding in that place. Look, NNPC. Prior to 2015, NNPC used to remit $3.5 billion to the CBN, which was the former governors used, despite the free trade, to maintain forex stability. Today, they're paying remit $1 billion. Nobody's asking questions. If Nigeria was to be a place where sanity is, where there are no corruption at the highest levels, by now, many people will have been in jail from that.
That brings me to my question, Dr. Obiaraeri. Yes. If I may come in here, Dr. Obiaraeri, you did mention that you don't see any hope in the NNPC as currently constituted, but Mr. President just did a management change recently, and as part of the top management, he appointed experienced industry players, and also on the part of corruption that you just mentioned. Are we going to get any sort of accountability? Because these are payers' monies that has gone into the running of NNPC for this turnaround maintenance and water view. Just recently, the EFCC announced the arrest of the former NNPC CFO for embezzling, for corruption to the tune of $7.2 billion, Umar Isa. And then we've not heard anything from Nnaemeka Obiaraeri since he was relieved of his appointment. Are you expecting any sort of accountability? Will justice be served? Will taxpayers' monies be recovered? Or it will be swept on the carpet and we'll just move on to other issues?
I'm not expecting any tangible changes. This is not the first time we've had crack private sector professionals running the NNPC. Before now, we had Kachukwu Ibe. I don't think any of them comes better than Kachukwu Ibe. And of course, you saw what happened and how they practically sabotaged all his reform efforts at that place. At the end of the day, they kicked him out and brought Mike and Tibaru to do their job. See, let me tell us the truth. Just stop wasting our time. Whether you bring an angel to run the NNPC and they allow NNPC to be owned the way it is currently owned by the Federal Ministry of Finance and the Petroleum Ministry, and then still subject it under the shenanigans that we have seen in the public sector, it will never work. Because we shouldn't continue doing this. You can't keep on rinsing nonsense, and you expect to get sense out of it. We cannot continue in this atmosphere of chaos and corruption and wickedness and deliberate deceit. Brazilians had to undergo the same reform. And what did they do? They unbundled Petrobras, sold down 72% of the shareholding of Petrobras to 4 core private sector investors. Today, look at where Petrobras is. Petrobras was established years after the Nigerian National Oil Corporation that transmuted into NNPC in 1977. If the federal government is sincere, and I dare challenge them if they are very, very sincere, do the right thing. What is it that we are able to privatize petrochemical plant element? What is it that we did the right thing at energy? When it comes to NNPC, everybody keep pussyfooting, deceiving. See, Nigerians should stop all this, allowing them to be playing us with this kind of hazy games. Do the right thing. Unbundle the ownership there, make it a truly private limited liability company. Sell down 70% of the shareholding of the Federal Ministry of Finance and Petroleum Ministry. Sell it to 3 core investors within the downstream oil and gas in Nigeria. 10%. Sell 40% to Nigerians. List it on the floor of the exchange. And I tell you of a truth, within the next 1 year, you will see optimal results. Our crude oil output will go back to 2.4, 2.5 million barrels a day. Our output, our results will be wrapped up, and those refineries will start working. Those refineries can easily work. After some of those refineries were built in less than 3-4 years. Why can't we repair them over 80 years? I just saw this clearly. Why do you think the likes of Shell, the likes of Chevron, the likes of Total, they have interest and stakeholding in refineries in other countries, but they refuse to put their stake here in Nigeria because they know that here is a place, a crime scene. Here is a center of corruption. People are better corruption. People shamelessly do corruption until try to persecute and put a cover over Nigerian faces. They're not here. But they know that the first refinery was built by Shell. But they're not here in Nigeria again because they see us clearly for who we are. A certain perfidious, cheat-hole jungle of corrupt men and women. I will refuse to repent and change. Let me tell you, I put it to you. Yeah, next 4 or 5 years, it will still be the same thing. If we don't uproot this corruption, this demon from the information, and to only put it is to do what we did at NLNG, is to do what Petrobras did. Without any of these fundamental changes, we are wasting our time.
So I need to ask on this because you seem to be on the side already of privatization of the NNPC. But would you trust a privatization process, particularly under this administration? It's a 2-part question. Let me also ask about modular refineries, because we've been hearing a lot about that and about modular refineries being the way forward. Why are they seemingly not prioritized? If we're having failure with the NNPC, why are we not looking in another direction to see what we can get out of the crude oil? But primarily, would you trust the privatization process at this time?
Let me tell you, to privatize the NNPC and to unbundle it, if the government of the day is very sincere, it can be done within 6 months to 1 year. There's no skyrocket science about it. We have a template we can provide for them. There's no skyrocket science about it. It's first of all to put the evolution of the place. My talking about modular refinery was one of the reasons why I blamed Jonathan Goodluck. Because if you look at one of the 2 things that the former opposition, APC, used to demonize Goodluck Jonathan was the corruption then, the subsidy scam and racketeering that happened under the Ziani and Co. And Jonathan did not do what he was supposed to do then by firing the Ziani and Co. at the early stage. And some of the other things where he allowed the gentleman to overcome his sense of reasoning. The modular refinery route, people always talk about modular refinery, it's very, very good. There was a suggestion by one of the senators. I won't mention his name because I don't have his permission. And one of those suggestions was very simple. Firstly, you build refineries near source of crude. And the arrangement was for the federal government to dredge the waterways One of the reasons why we have flood in Nigeria because we have refused to dredge, we have refused to desilt. The only person who attempted it was Yar'Adua. He awarded the contract, he died, and nothing happened about it. One of what it was to dredge from the S-Craft was all the way to Jeddah. And when you dredge, refineries, we can do shoreline embankment and everything, and then do a PPP arrangement that will allow it to be dredged every year and be swept every year to allow the water sand collected again at the base of the waterways. And then this is a law. Nobody will get marginal field in Nigeria again without any approval, license, financial capacity to do refineries here in Nigeria. The arrangement was very simple. We have the whole sub-Saharan African market to take care of. If we have passed this law, all the people that we paper qualify and give marginal field wouldn't have been chasing for marginal field to look for who they will farm it out to. Basically, what we have done was to get the best, the most technical capable, the most financial capable to take our marginal field licenses, draw our crude oil, build modular refineries attached to it, refine, and we'll export and take over the whole of Africa. And then it will help us to meet our open quota selling crude without also destroying the local economy of production. You have many countries in Nigeria today that don't have even a liter of crude oil, yet they have some of the biggest refineries like Greece and other places. So if the current government can still adopt the same process, nobody is going to get marginal field license, oil block license without showing proof that we will have a refinery here that will be built. We will sell out a crude of any crude that we have now should be considered refining here in Nigeria. And if we do this and get it right, this country will move forward. Most of the refineries that are modular refineries are doing well, from Upper to Watersmith to Nnaemeka Refinery and to each one of them. They are doing so well. The federal government again should also stop this selective treatment of giving crude to naira crude for naira to those they think are big refineries. Whereas those that are doing modular are neglected. There is no refinery in Nigeria that is not important. Everybody invested based on his financial capacity, and all of them are invested. All of them must be treated equal. That must be level playing ground. I have seen some of the moves being made for them to ban importation of petroleum products. Nobody should allow that. Look at Niger. Niger has a refinery that produces 3 times what they consume. The refinery at Zendam produces almost about 20,000 barrels, refines 2,000 barrels of crude every day. What they consume in Niger is about 6,500 barrels a day. Yet, despite the fact that Niger produces 3 times what it consumes and is exporting, they have not banned imports because the only way you can you avoid monopoly or oligopoly is to provide a fair entry and exit arrangement. See, anybody who is very, very sincere knows that if the refinery owners in Nigeria are playing well, are doing what is honest, are not exporting from Nigerians, there is no way somebody will refine in Chad, in Russia, or refine in America, and you bring it in cheaper here. Yes, we say cost of production of crude in Nigeria is high. It's high because of the same inefficiencies for corruption. If we do the right thing and put the right situations in place, we will compete favorably with other oil producing countries. But the only problem we have in Nigeria is the problem of leadership, the problem of corruption, the problem of deliberate inefficiencies put in place by those in power. When we put in place level playing ground, Nigeria is one country that ticks the right boxes to be a paradise. But we have turned it into Hades because of the few incompetent leadership we have and the elites who have refused to speak out, and who have adopted the cowardice mode because they want to be invited to the looting table.
Thank you very much, Dr. Obiaraeri. Just before we let you go, I want to also follow up on refineries. We know the Dangote refinery has been in operation for a while now. We can feel the effect. There's also talks of BUA refinery coming up later, sometime this year. And if the NNPC eventually fixes the Nigerian refineries, does it mean that petroleum marketers will be out of business? Because why would you, what would be the logical case for importing refined products into the country? And for Nigerians watching, they also want to know, I mean, this crude is gotten from Nigeria. Why are we paying so much for petrol products? Will this price ever come down to under 500? What will it take to get them to that level? Because the price of fuel is connected to cost of living, transportation, and so many things.
On many occasions, shared with us the recipe for us to achieve energy security and energy price stability in Nigeria. And the truth is, we are not doing what we are doing right in Nigeria. If you look at our cost of production in terms of crude, it's estimated that our crude production is about $30, $31 per barrel. Unlike in Saudi Arabia, unlike in Russia, unlike in other places where you are producing crude at $10 to $15 per barrel. Countries like the US also produce crude very expensive, and of course we know why, because of fracking, which is an expensive technology. Can Nigeria produce their crude per barrel at a cheaper cost than we are producing now? Yes, the technology is available, but we've deliberately allowed insecurity, we've deliberately allowed inefficiency and corruption to stop us from doing what is right. I've also made suggestions. If we want to ensure that price of the petroleum product, the wet petroleum product, sells for 500 naira to 800 naira per liter year on year, or even lower, irrespective of what happened in the global commodity market, we know what to do. Currently, we have Warri, 125,000 barrels a day. We have Port Harcourt, 210,000 barrels a day, the two trains, which is combined 35,000 barrels. And then with facilities there, you can easily collocate a new 160,000 barrel a day refinery that will normally cost you about $8 to $10 billion at a cost of $4 billion. Because there are already existing facilities that can be collocated with the rights and with the major refining machines. Now, to do that, we can decide to adopt a model that works, a PPP model that works. And what is that PPP model? Everybody all over the world knows that refinery margin, petroleum oil and gas margin, is thin. It's not like other sectors where you expect to make an EBITDA of 30% or 50%. But under this special arrangement, we can say, okay, we put these refineries in a bucket. And look, you can call that man or more man. They are key players in this industry. And okay, amongst them, they can come together, even with Ipman, and decide, okay, we are going to hand over this refinery to you under an arrangement, under a special purpose arrangement owned by the federal government. These blocks will own 30%. We will sell 40% to Nigerians or 50% to Nigerians. NNPC will own 20% and will list on the floor. And then they come up with a framework to collocate new 160,000 barrels a day under a cost plus margin arrangement. Cost of production, $30 per barrel, $10 per barrel refining cost. $30% margin, everything comes at about $53 per barrel. By the time you crack all the white petroleum products from PMS to gas oil to paraffin and all those stuff, you will see clearly, and add the 24% margin that will move from the depot owners to the truckers and to the filling stations anywhere in Nigeria. You will see that you will sell white petroleum products for that price we're talking about, while guaranteeing that the players within that sector earn their marginal margin, not over profit. And of course, how do we protect the products from being kited out of Nigeria? We set up something like a petroleum bulk purchasing company by the same SROs, different SROs, and such a way that we also meter our stations, our filling stations, wherever. There are digital ways of controlling these things. And when you do this, and every Nigerian become a participant in protecting our oil and gas industry, we've come up with different models.
Dr. Obiaraeri, I really wish we could go on, but we have fast run out of time. Thank you so much for your time and insights on the subject. We do appreciate investment banker and public affairs analyst Dr. Nnaemeka Obiaraeri. Thank you.